Welcome to Circle of Kings. When compared to the state of our society and the globe 7 or 8 decades ago, the era we are presently living in has experienced a considerable transition. When the contrasts are taken into account, just one thing, in my opinion, really stands out. Why are males approaching women differently now than they used to? In fact, I'll take this a bit further and ask, why are men not approaching modern women anymore? No matter how far away from you a woman was, there was no quick way to get in touch with her before social media, smartphones, and the internet. Since there was no other way to interact with women back then, men used to physically approach them and show that they were interested in them. He had to dress elegantly and even talk to her parents in order to follow social norms before he could ask her out on a date. Men and women can communicate with one another in the modern world at any time and from any location. Back then, there was a lot of effort involved. Everything had to be planned out beforehand. It was simpler, and I guess, a little more exciting. Since you didn't have the option of checking her up on social media, you probably had a mental image of the person you saw and fell in love with. And because of this, guys felt forced to approach the woman face to face and ask for a date. Since that was the way things were back then, most people dating inside their own groups. The distances were far and wide and always became a problem. Unlike today, when you can get in touch with someone from across the world and get to know them online in real time. So men and women both did not have such luxuries back then, and in fact, did not have the luxury of being able to interact with just about anyone they liked. There were formalities involved. The girls had to take permission. The guys had to take the girls' parents' permission before they could meet them. Back then, little interaction took place. Men had no more than 2 chances to meet and get to know women before being married. Guys had no choice but to approach women in the past since they had no other option. And because of the multiple distractions we currently encounter, I think the level of chemistry, connection, and mutual understanding was far higher than it is now. A person looking for someone on social media might like one person, but they might also like 5 other people. They would have half-hearted conversations online, and even during dating, they'd still be engrossed in their phones trying to get the perfect click for the gram or speaking on a group chat. I mean, we are super connected now as compared to before, yet we are utterly disconnected from each other and our realities. It's crazy. So, why aren't men approaching women anymore? I think it's because men usually see the pros and cons of everything before they take any action. And the cons of approaching women these days are far higher than the pros. Today, approaching women nearly always results in rejection, being called a creep, or just being ignored and shunned by society. Why? Because most males are perceived by women as predators or desperate men. They will be fine if they already know a guy and want him to contact them. But that is another matter. But it is simply not worthwhile for a male to approach an unidentified woman. Too many risks exist. Social embarrassment, total ignorance, and a generalized dread of rejection all seem too risky. The average woman would embarrass the average guy more frequently than not if he politely approached her to start a discussion. I want you guys to think about social standing and how one's value affects how they are treated. Think about times when you were approached by a ragged beggar or a homeless person in your own life. You went on the defensive right away and determined not to talk to them or give them anything. The same is true for women, even though their circumstances are significantly worse now than they were a century ago. Women must constantly be extra cautious since a male may take them against their will at any time. The issue arises, though, when you witness a woman publicly humiliating a man for just speaking to her while she is out in a public place with a large group of onlookers and knows she is somewhat secure. So if we dig a little further, we can only deduce that contemporary women no longer appreciate the typical male or men in general. Returning to my subject of status, do you believe a woman would treat Jeff Bezos the same way if she is known for showing disdain for the average and below average men that approach her? Today, men have decided just not to indulge in any behavior that allows women to disrespect and invalidate them. Women's behavior towards men has just gone down the drain, and men have realized this. They have chosen their reputation, integrity, and respect over the disrespect and humiliation extended by women towards them. Seriously, I'd be much better off not approaching women because I swear, I've heard stories of women calling the police over guys approaching them. Obviously, there was nothing wrong with the guys. It was just that they did not fit their profile in the looks and money departments. So, why would I or anyone put myself through something like this? It doesn't make sense. Also, I think a very high percentage of women are just not even worth approaching anymore. I think that's what they want, to be publicly valued by men, so they can show off in their circles, humiliate the guy, and feel validated, which she isn't in any part of her life. Can modern women even be approached? If you want to be contacted, you need to appear approachable. Otherwise, people will take one look at you and decide not to approach you, much less engage in conversation. And today's women carry themselves in public as if they were some sort of royalty. Another reason why men don't approach women anymore is how women behave in public. They are just not very approachable in the sense that they give off a vibe that says, "Don't bother me." I mean, if a guy had a really angry expression all the time that basically said, "Do not come near me," would any woman approach that guy? Not at all. The same thing applies to women in public and private settings. If a man sees a woman he likes and wants to start a conversation with, and she looks cold and closed off, he will assume she doesn't want to talk to anyone, and he wouldn't want to approach that woman. That is how important smiling and looking inviting with open body language is. But modern women don't care and aren't willing to change. So likewise, men are just not going to approach, and that's that. But when men don't approach, they whine and complain that men are not approaching them anymore. So, whenever men see women they like, and even if they want to approach her, her body language and expression turn them away. And then women complain that guys don't approach them anymore. Ladies, if you want someone to approach you, at least work on yourself to have a better and more pleasant look. You don't have to look like you're going to burst with rage any moment all the time. Otherwise, men are just going to ignore you, even if you want them to approach you. Men simply have had it with women's unreasonably high standards. Women don't like males who drive Hondas, aren't handsome, or don't have the letters a B or C in their names. Do you see what I mean? They continue to cheat on men despite having everything they want. Men are just now beginning to realize all of this. They have no time to spend caring about ladies who are pointless to contact with. Women don't seem to be aware of how unfair the game is to men overall. They want what they want. Men will also stop supporting women who behave in an unsupportive way. Men will therefore just enjoy their free time while working hard, avoiding distractions, and cheerfully pursuing their hobbies. They are better off engaging with women online to determine whom they can spend their time with, because they have more options now. So, what do you guys think? Why aren't men approaching women anymore? Let's discuss this in the comments. Thanks for watching Circle of Kings. If you liked the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.